2022. The State of the Nation Address, commonly referred to as SONA, is one of the most important annual events in the parliamentary calendar. It is an integral part of Parliament's oversight function over the executive. Watch the address live across Parliament platforms at 7 p.m. Follow Parliament on social media and join the conversation using hashtag SONA2022. Parliament, following up on our commitments to the people, making your future work better.
For the first time since the dawn of democracy in 1994, the State of the Nation Address will be held outside the precincts of Parliament due to the devastating fire incident which gutted certain buildings of Parliament, including the National Assembly. The majestic and historic Cape Town City Hall, at the heart of the Mother City's Central Business District and its adjacent Grand Parade, will host the August SONA 2022 by the President of the Republic, Mr. Cyril Ramaphosa. The venue has been declared the precincts of Parliament in terms of the law and the rules of Parliament. The City Hall is where the country's first democratic president, Utata Mandela, addressed the masses and the country after his release from prison in 1990. On the 10th of February 2022, be a witness as Parliament TV broadcasts an educational and informative program, including the President's address, live from 7 in the morning until late in the evening. Parliament, following up on our commitments to the people, making your future work better. Tune in or you will miss out.
The State of the Nation Address is one of the rare occasions where the three arms of the state, the legislature, the executive, and the judiciary, come together under one roof. Let's watch this video. Sibulelo, we know that today, being the State of the Nation Address, the chamber is going to actually be embracing the three arms of state which are responsible for the smooth governance of our country.
Absolutely.
So there is an expectation that the judges are going to be there, that is the judiciary, the lawmakers are going to be there, that is Parliament, including also the High Court judges, the provinces as well. So there are a lot of people that are going to be there, but these three arms of state are extremely critical in how our country is governed.
Indeed. So when we're looking at the symbolism of the three arms of state, obviously, we know that these are the three arms that are responsible for driving collectively and obviously through in their respective mandates, taking the country forward. We know before the democratic dispensation through our constitution made provision for these three arms of state, and that's the legislative sector, that is the judiciary, and it is the executive. Now, on this rare occasion, as you have already alluded, Cisvi, it's the one of the rare occasions when the three arms of state come together to come and listen to the state president deliver his annual State of the Nation address.
Viewers at home and Sibulelo, one of the most important things that we need to remember is that the legislature is responsible for drafting the laws.
Absolutely.
Of the national laws of the country. And then also the judiciary is responsible for ensuring that there's adherence to the rule of law. Those are the acts and the laws of the country. And also even government is expected to comply with the laws that it has drafted.
Absolutely.
And finally, government is responsible to ensure that the services that you are expected to receive as citizens are delivered to you as proclaimed by the pieces of legislation of our country. Without wasting any time, let's have a look at what exactly the three arms of state mean to you and I as citizens of the country. The Constitution protects our democracy by separating the power of the state into three different but interdependent components or arms. the legislature, which is parliament, the executive, known as well as the cabinet, and the judiciary, which are the courts. The three arms of the state ensure that power is divided, so no arm of the state has all the power. This minimizes the risk of abuse of state power. Each of these arms has its own responsibilities, but functions in a way that complements each other, so that effective cooperative governance is possible. Parliament consists of two houses, the National Assembly and the National Council of Provinces, whose members are elected by the people of South Africa. Each house has its own distinctive functions and powers as set out in the Constitution. The National Assembly is responsible for choosing the president, passing laws, ensuring that the members of the executive perform their work properly, and providing a forum where the representatives of the people can publicly debate issues. The National Council of Provinces is also involved in the lawmaking processes and provides a forum for debate on issues affecting the provinces. Its main focus is ensuring that provincial interests are taken into account in the national sphere of government. The president is the head of state and of the national executive. He exercises executive authority together with other members of the cabinet, namely the deputy president and ministers. The executive develops policy, for example, by preparing and initiating legislation which it submits to Parliament for approval. It then implements that policy by running the administration of the country by means of the different government departments. The executive must account for its actions and policies to Parliament. The judiciary is made up of the courts, such as the Constitutional Court, the Supreme Court of Appeal, high courts, magistrate courts, and other courts established or recognized through an act of Parliament. The head of the Constitutional Court is also the Chief Justice of South Africa. The Constitution states that the courts must be independent and act impartially. Organs of state, such as Parliament and the executive, must assist and protect the courts in order to ensure their independence, impartiality, dignity, accessibility, and effectiveness. This constituted division of state power is an important democratic principle called the separation of powers. Citizens, what we've been watching is it's the understanding of what the three arms of state's responsibilities are, without wasting time, and just to get an idea of what are the developments outside. As we know, there's so many activities happening. Good afternoon, Temgosi.
Of the 2022 State of the Nation Address. I am standing with Honorable Imam Sharif. Good afternoon to you.
And friends, we've lost a lot of them. I think COVID had such a devastating impact. Our people today suffer from COVID fatigue. So yes, it has had quite a trying effect on our people in the country, and not just in South Africa, but worldwide.
Yes, and now that the president will be addressing the country at 7 o'clock under such conditions, what is it that you are expecting to hear from the president?
Well, I'm hoping he's going to tell us the mistakes that he's learned. First of all, we know that the entire country, all state-owned entities are in a complete chaos, okay? And now that he realizes this is as a result of cadre deployment and the deployment committee, where decisions have been made by the ruling party themselves as to who they should be employing, that is going to change. That's the first thing. I hope, secondly, that he's going to deal with all those people that are implicated. But more importantly for us, what we want to see, that measures are going to be put in place to prevent any further looting and corruption, which is continuing right from local government level. As we speak here, this country is losing approximately 300 billion rand a year. So we want to see measures being put in place to stop that, to deal with those that are implicated. And when it comes to issues like infrastructure development, which is paramount for economic growth in this country, we know for a fact that we have no capacity as far as that is concerned. I'm hoping that he's going to put some measures in there. I'm also hoping that he's going to talk about the security situation and the lawlessness in the country at this point in time, where even the World Economic Forum is talking about South Africa is now a candidate for a coup in this country, and I hope he's going to put measures in place.
And lastly, if you can just share with our viewers on what motivated today's dress code.
Say that again.
If you can just share with our viewers on what motivated today's dress code.
Well, did nothing really, you know. I had the choice, like many people will do today, is go and buy a new outfit. And I said, no, I'm not going to do that. Not with so many people in South Africa that's going hungry. I'll wear what I've got and rather spend that additional money on people that are going hungry. And we know a very large percentage of people in this country go to bed hungry in this country.
Honorable Sheikh, thank you very much for talking to us at Parliament TV. That was Honorable Imam Sheikh sharing his expectations from the president as he delivers his State of the Nation address. Sis Valerie, for now it's back to you.
Thank you, Temgosi. Viewers at home, that was the honorable member sharing within the National Assembly. He comes from the minority party as well within Parliament. So we are getting ready, as we are left with a few hours just before the state president delivers the State of the Nation Address 2022. But as well as we know that it's not only the president that just walks into the venue, delivers the State of the Nation Address, there's a lot, Sibulelo, that happens outside in preparation for the president, just the things that set the tone for him just before he comes and speaks to us as the citizens of South Africa.
Absolutely, Sizvine. One of the key things that we must also point out to the viewers at home is the fact that members have started arriving, guests have started arriving, and they are, of course, going into the chamber. They're starting to take their seats in preparation to make sure that by the time the president arrives, closer to 7 p.m., that everybody is seated.
And one of the ceremonial procedures also that we need to know that has always become part of the State of the Nation address is the 21-gun salute.
Absolutely.
Those are some of the things that we are going to be viewing tonight, and also the fly pass that is actually the responsibility of the Defense Force, the Air Force, indeed, within the defense. So there are so many activities. Being in this environment as well, it's also going to see different venues, different approaches to things. So fellow South Africans, let us get ready for the State of the Nation address by the president. But coming back to the 21-gun salute, this actually was established in 1842 because it became an international norm as the highest honor a nation is rendered, and it is fired in honor of a sitting president. The first shot of the salute is synchronized to coincide with the playing of the national anthem. The salute takes 1 minute and 40 seconds. Let us take a look at this.
The State of the Nation address is a state ceremony, which means the president will take a national salute on a podium outside the National Assembly building, which includes the 21-gun salute and a flypast by the South African Air Force. The 21-gun salute became an international norm for the highest honor a nation rendered and is fired in honor of the head of state. The guns are fired from the company gardens behind the parliamentary precinct. The 21-gun salute will start when the national anthem starts, synchronizing the first shot with the first note of the anthem. The whole salute takes 1 minute and 40 seconds. There are 5-second gaps between the shots. The 21 guns are fired from 4 25-pounders. So gun number 1 will fire 6 shots, and the remaining guns will fire 5. The end of the anthem is marked by a flypast by the South African Air Force, which takes place on the last note of the national anthem. The flypast is meticulously planned to ensure that the planes are flying over Parliament at the correct moment.
I am now standing with Honorable Ms. Peace Mabe. Honorable Mabe, good afternoon and welcome to Parliament TV.
Thank you very much. Good afternoon to you and viewers at home.
If you can just briefly share with our viewers at home, firstly, what motivated this dress, and secondly, who designed it?
Miss Jackie Gidi is the one who organized the dress for me, and I thank her. Well, nothing really motivated the dress. She just felt that we've been away for some time. We need to come back and give hope, put some color.
And President will be addressing the nation tonight at 7 o'clock. What is it that you'd like to expect from him?
Well, I think expectations are high. Top on the priority of expectations is job creation, coupled with education. I think those are the two most important programs that the president should speak about and put more emphasis on them. Because if we can deal with education and creation of jobs, South Africa will definitely be better.
Thank you, ma'am. And lastly, the past 2 years has been difficult for most of South Africans due to the COVID-19 outbreak. How has it been for you?
Well, personally, yes, it has been very difficult. We've lost our loved ones. People have lost their jobs. So it has been a very difficult year for all of us as South Africans. But not only South African, globally, it has been a very difficult 2 bad years for the world.
Ms. Mabe, thank you very much for talking to Parliament TV. That was Honorable Peace, the President's address later this evening. It's now back to the studio.
Jason.
Thank you, ma'am.
Good afternoon, viewers. We've just seen the 21 gun salute being displayed outside within the precinct of the City Hall. We know that one of the familiar things during the State of the Nation address is the presence of Imbongi that gives praises to the president. And this role is actually allowed to rotate from one province to the other. And this evening, we are going to be seeing the praise singer that is from the Northwest. So just before we get into the details of who our Mbongi is in the State of the Nation Address 2022, let us have a look at the previous Mbongi that actually welcomed the President before the State of the Nation Address.
Bana ba mmala wa sebilo tlhagala ke ya bitšile ngwana kgosi ka ke tla ke phuntse pheo ya borago le ba bokone gore botlhe ba tle ba nkutlwe ka tse di laditseng ditlhogo ke gorogile kgorong ya thuto e le sa masetla a dibeteselelo tsa teng dikeledi di thepologanyala jaaka metsi a phororo ya noka ya thomedi dikgwebo di tswatswa bagwebi ba tshwere phage ka mangana mosimane gape ke motho o belegetswe mo manthe mo kgaolong ya batlhapi ba ga maedi mo ga kgosikgolong ya ko motlhabane mosimane gape o tshimolotse go boka ka dingwaga tsa bo 2002 mosimane gape o ile a kgatlhegela go rata puo ya Setswana ka go bala buka ya Sello sa Mooki ya ga Rre Sedi mo tlase poko ke a itlhama go nthusa thata gore ke itlhame ka go bala dibuka tsa Setswana le go dira dipatlisiso ke kwala botlhami jo bo tswang mo go nna poko ya ka e na le molaetsa ga e se baboki ba le bantsi ke go rata le go nna pelotelele ya seo se dirang go go ruta tshosometso ya go itshoka go a busetsa ke ne ke eletsa mo ba presidente ba ba hitileng ba Afrika Borwa gore le nna nka ipona ke boka mogale yo tshwana le Borra Ramaphosa jana ke motlotlo ka gona la lerato la seo se dirang e le gore go tswa mo boteng jwa pelo ya gago mosimane gape o tshimolotse ka dingwaga tsa bo 2002 a le ko sekolo se se potlana sa Moshosho Primary School seboko ga nke se fetha noko e lengwe bana ba mmala wa sebilo tlhagala ke ya beitsile ngwana kgosi ka ke tla ke phuntse pheo ya borwago le ba bokone gore botlhe ba tle ba nkutlwe ka tse di laditseng ditlhogo ke gorogile kgorong ya thuto e le sa masetla a dibeteselelo tsa teng dikele di dithepologang jaaka metsi a phororo ya noka ya thomeng ao magodu ke nyena lona la dithata tsa nyena dipelo di ka kontle a ke go bipampa ka matsele le gale ba re poko kgologang ke etswa ka ngwana motho ke tla gore ke kgang tshosometso ya kganya bokwalotshelo jwa ka jo kileng ke a boromelela puso ya bokone bophirima bo ile wa ba kgatlha ka leitlho le le ntšhotšho go bona e le tšhono ya gore ke kgone go nna mohenywa gore ke tla boka moporesidente wa rona wa naga ya Aforika Borwa e leng re Ramatamela Cyril Ramaphosa re tlotle melawana le melawana e beilweng ke naga ke moporesidente wa rona wa Aforika Borwa e leng Tautona Matamela Cyril Ramaphosa ke re ka ikuela gore puso e ka thusa bataki ka tse ba di labalabelang gore ba kgone go itshedisa re leke go ntsha bana ko mobileng ga golo jang re bilebile digajaja tsa bolwetse jwa coronavirus re bantshe mo diritibatsing mo boemong jwa boboki jwa ka mo boemong jwa puo e tswa mo go mosimane gape ke re bagolo ba e go rotloetsa bana gore ba rate setso ba tsene dikolo e nne tshosometso ba bale dibuka ditalente di e go gola puso ya rona ya Aforika Borwa e kgone go re ema nokeng re leke go bantsha mo diritibatsing re sale melao ya coronavirus morago nna ke le tebele le lentshola ga masodi a mamphela le zulu lempela la ga go selala na mane le tlhakole ba re ke marobaroba di a robarobile fela di sa tswa go alala ditsoga di gopola letlhakola gologongwe ke phologolo tse di dina ka didiobo o tle di re gou di re gou di re gou di re gou o bo re go gogodu morwana re ga o le bale hela mmutlwa ga o tshwane le naka o tla tlhomola mogatsa molana ro ja batla seantlo e sa le gale phologolo e maboma be go ba ya gabalala barwa dipataola tsa mere barwa motlhano o tlhokile motsei ba rojilwe ke magakabele manong ke ngwana ga mosadi motho motshwana ke le tankgola le le tankgolo tse mmopa motho e re ga bopa mmopa thibeletse ka seatla gore mmopa o se kwa thubega
A new element of the State of the Nation address since the birth of democracy is Imbongi, the praise singer. Although our parliament is based on the Westminster traditions, Imbongi praise singing gives Africanness pride of place, narrating the president's personal history, clan, and family lineage in song, dance, and narration. Imbongi starts this narration as the presidential procession enters the chamber. To be fair to the rich cultural and multilingual diversity of our country, the use of language is rotated every year. This year, the language to be used is Setswana. The Imbongi hails from a small village in Taung in the northwest. Jason Mosimane-Khape, welcome as Imbongi to Cape Town and welcome as well to the City Hall. Without wasting any time, you were praising on the top of the hills with so much green in the background and the rivers. Can you just tell us as to exactly where you were on the day that you were doing that praise singing?
Lehelo le marona ke lehelo le bidiwang Taung Dam. Ke lehelo le kgaoganyang dikgosi tsa rona di ka nna tharo nna ke wala go ga kgosi Motlhabane go na le go ga kgosi Tshepo Mankuruane go bo go na le go ga mme kgosi Mothibi di mo gare ga metsi ya le maron go na le a diamond. There is a lot of fish batho ba tla ha go na le di festive season ba tla go keteka ke na go tsele tsa bo the late president Mangope o ile a bona gore no go nne le Taung Dam le ka di balela Taung Dam jaaka mo ile gore go na le
mabitla a bo di-ancestors tsa borra rona. Go na le motsana mongwe ba re ke Chokonyane, then o tsamaya 6 kilometers, then o tsena ka Manti. So ke something like a border between Bahamaidi and Baha Pudhuchwan. So ra gile mmogo go ka keteka mmogo mo lehelo le la Taundeme leo e marona. Ke ka mogokile ka tsa tshosometso ya gore ke Taundeme ke go lemosa maAforika Borwa ka mokgo seemo sa ikonomi se wang ka teng, seemo sa ikonomi mo e leng gore tautona wa rona o mogare ga dikgwetlho mo e leng goreng o tshwantswa bone gore bana ba gago ba ka lala ba jeleng, mo e leng gore ga robale. Ke be ke tsa pene le pampiri ke ka tlhama leboko la COVID-19. Go na le leng gore ke ile ka tlhama ka lone ke la Corona separate, mo e leng gore ke ile ka, when you see my pictures they are in, ke palame mo thabeng mo e leng gore ke a pula e na yano ke a go dira leboko la Corona.
I just kindly request that we pause on the point that you've just made. We are going out now to Temgosi just to speak to one of the members of parliament from the ACDP.
Good afternoon, viewers. You're still watching the build-up to the 2022 State of the Nation Address, brought to you by Parliament TV on DSTV channel 408. And with me now is Honorable Swart of the African Christian Democratic Party. Good afternoon, sir, and how are you?
Nice to be on Parliament TV, and thank you for the hard work you're doing in publishing Parliament's work. Well done. Keep up the good work.
Thank you very much, Mr. Swart. If you could just briefly share with our viewers, how has the past 2 years been for you following the outbreak of COVID-19?
Well, you might recall that myself, Reverend Meshwe, were one of the first to get COVID-19, to be tested positive in the country, and we are very grateful for the prayers of so many people, so many messages we received from across political parties at that time, and we are very grateful that we fully recovered. Reverend Meshwe was asymptomatic totally, but what is very encouraging for us now is that we've got very strong immunity because we had the original Wuhan virus. And so we're very grateful for the fact that we've been totally cured of that. And I think that this is where we are moving now. We are pleased to hear the Omicron variant is far less severe. And obviously that brings the whole issue of how we treat it and how we, the whole issue of mandatory vaccines. We are not opposed to vaccines, but obviously we are opposed to the issue of mandatory vaccinations. But we trust that Parliament will start coming back to normal. And we saw, I was always in Parliament as the whip of the ACDP, even during the lockdown last year. But we would like to see Parliament coming back to normal as schools are reopening, businesses are reopening. Parliament has operated, although it's been on the hybrid platform, done good work, but I think that the public wants to see Parliament operated, and that's why it's so important that we are here today. Sadly, we're not in our National Assembly building where I've served for almost 23 years. It's heartbreaking to me. As you know, I was one of the first on the scene at Sunday morning, 9 o'clock, when the fire was still in the old assembly. Then to see it spread to the National Assembly, I'm deeply saddened by that. And I have a sense of, I think public are upset, almost a sense of outrage as well. How did that allow to happen? That is our key Parliament where from 1994, so many good laws have been passed, so many, but on the other hand, oversight has been effected, maybe not sufficient oversight, but at least there it was. And so I'm very pleased that the executive authority of Parliament decided this, in terms of the Constitution, is the seat of Parliament. Cape Town is the seat of Parliament, that you are having it here in the city. Well, it's very sad that we're not in the National Assembly, but we trust that that will be rebuilt and restored, as it must be done in terms of the Heritage Act. So those people that are saying Parliament must be moved to Pretoria, that's a debate for another day. At this stage, that Parliament must be rebuilt, must be restored, and I look forward to seeing you, as I see you every year, at the opening of Parliament, one day soon, at the new building there. But for our purposes for today, SONA, we are looking forward to the President addressing a number of issues and touching on the issue of COVID-19, how we're dealing with it, when is the state of disaster going to come to an end? Those are some of the issues. Obviously, we're also deeply concerned about security issues, corruption issues, how to deal with the Zondo Commission.
All right. Lastly, if you can briefly share with the viewers what are your expectations from the president?
Yes, and so we want to see the economic stimulus. We want to see implementation. We don't want to see empty promises anymore that are not being implemented. We need to see enactment. We need to see implementation, economic stimulus to create jobs. We need to see how the Zondo Commission is going to be dealt with, how those corruption cases, and of course the intelligence structures, how that is going to be dealt with, and when the state of disaster in terms of the Disaster Management Act is going to come to an end.
Mr. Swar, thank you very much for talking to us. I will now hand over to Sis Valerie at the studio.
The members of parliament are getting ready to get into the venue of the National Assembly, so-called, which is within the City Hall. So you can see the view, the clips of how the venue looks like. It's not an ordinary sitting arrangement. It's more like a show, a sitting arrangement where you can see that all the chairs have actually been labeled, but also keeping into the COVID-19 protocols. As you go around, looking around, you can see the stage is set and ready for the president. But it is so different. It is quite different, but it also saying that it is showing us that the President's State of the Nation address venue, it is set, it is ready for 7 o'clock this evening. But as we have been alluding to you, is to say that there are other guests, as well as the three arms of state are going also to be attending this august occasion. Now, Thembinkosi, we know that you are waiting with Mr. Likota, who's the Member of Parliament. Over to you.
Thank you so much, Valerie. I am now standing with Mr. Tera Likota, the President of the Congress of the People. Good afternoon, Mr. Likota.
Good afternoon, sir.
Mr. Likota, firstly, for the first time in the history of our democratic South Africa, the precinct of Parliament is at the City Hall. What is your comment on that?
Well, it's one of the sadness of this time that our Parliament was actually put alight. And, it's sad because it comes at a time and in the year in which the prospects of the economy, of business, everything is just down. And it may well be that this is one of those years that in the Bible they talk about it as the 7 years of drought, and there's nothing to eat and all of that. But it looks like everything is not going right, and to expect from the president to make a miracle speech that will change everything and make it look, even the rains that come are just destroying everything. So it's not a good time, but every time in history, there are times when everything is doing well, but there are times when everything goes down. And now we are going down. I think it's sad, but we look back to the period when our economy was doing well and we were having a lot of money that we could have used to build schools, to build homes, to cultivate the land and so on, and to make our people at this time to retreat into all of the successes of the past years of prosperity. But now we are sitting deep in sadness. And that is it. I think the president will try his best, but I can't see him delivering what you can call a bright speech, something that's going to make us all be successful and so on. Why the churches, that church next to the hotel was also burned. But why is everything turning bad? No news is good news these days, yes.
Mr. Likota, thank you very much for talking to Parliament TV. That was Mr. Tera Likota, the President of the Congress of the People. Now back to the studio.
Citizen of South Africa, we can just look at the pictures and the footage that we are having. You can see the security is there to ensure that everybody is safe and is protected within the precinct of the City Hall. So as they make their movement inside the City Hall, that is the outside of the City Hall. Remember, this building was built in 1905. It is one of the heritage sites within the mother city of Cape Town. So centered in there is also the venue where the state president is going to deliver the State of the Nation address at about 7 o'clock this evening. But as you have this particular view where the flags are, you can also tell of that Westminster look-alike clock. Remember that this building is almost the replica of the Westminster Hall, which is in London. So that particular clock was an adoption of the bigger version of the clock that is the Westminster Church. So as we look at it, it symbolizes the heritage that was brought by the English when they were rulers of the Cape Colony. Remember that as the City Hall stands, it reminds us as South Africans that this is where the late former president of South Africa, Mr. Nelson Mandela, made his free speech on the 11th of February 1990, without giving you much details about the inside of the City Hall where the president will deliver his speech. We are handing over to you, Thembikhisi. What have you got to give us?
So much that is okay. Natasha is not going to talk to us now, ne?
Citizens television, live television has its pros, has its cons, but we are still with you as we are getting ready for the State of the Nation address. As I said earlier on, this was built in 1905 and it has become a heritage site. Just right around the building, you will notice a lot of tents. That is where most of the television houses, that is where the media houses are located, and also television houses that are going to capture the events of today, which is the State of the Nation address. But what is also significant is that the City Hall is not only the only center within the mother city. The City Hall is surrounded by other heritage sites that will include the Parliament, that will also include the Iziko Museum. Iziko Museum has a significant history because it was built to accommodate the slaves that were from different parts of Africa, that was Malaysia and other African states. So we have that site that is also a museum which gives you a history of the slaves that were there. Thembikhisi, what have you got to give us from outside?
Thank you, Valerie. I am now standing with the African National Congress Chief Whip in the National Assembly, Ms. Phemi Machortina. Ma'am, good afternoon.
Yes, good afternoon to Parliament TV and to all viewers at home.
Thank you very much for taking this interview with us. Firstly, if you could just briefly share how has the 2 years been for you following the outbreak of COVID-19?
It has been a very difficult 2 years, very hectic. We had to plug in to the new normal, and we did that with pride. It was not easy when we started because we had to figure out which gadget are we going to use to put together parliamentarians. But finally, we managed to have this Zoom. We started with the team, we started with the hangout and all that. But the good part of this pandemic, it taught us that with the gadgets that we're holding, we're not doing enough about them. We didn't know what they can do. But today, everyone knows how to connect everywhere. So it has assisted us. We did not lose anything. We did not postpone anything. However, as a member of the ANC and the chief whip, I've lost close to 17 members of the African National Congress. Most of them died of COVID-19. It was said also lost some members of parliament from other parties. That was the sorrowful part of this pandemic. Otherwise, when it comes to work, we're plugged in. That is why the banning of parliament is not going to deter us. We are still going to work on virtual platform, but we'll also work on a hybrid session. So it doesn't matter. Whilst people are really worried about the building, the parliament is not about the building, it's about the symbols, it's just about work, it's about oversight, and we will keep on doing our oversight work, not to be in the parliamentary building, but all over the show. All our committees have been sitting on visual, they're still going to sit on visual. So we're not going to be disorganized. Yes, it is painful that we've lost such a heritage site, but be that as may, let our parliamentary work go ahead undeterred. We are ready to serve, and that is why on the day when the fire started, all of us as leaders of various political parties, we have to come down and pledge solidarity to one another, but commit that we're going to work, and we are doing that.
And members, the president will be delivering a State of the Nation at 7 o'clock this evening. What are your expectations from the president?
The expectation of the ANC from the president is an action-orientated State of the Nation address that will talk about implementation that must be time-bound, but more focus must be on a high rate of unemployment, and we are proposing and expecting as well to the president that the rate of unemployment can be tackled through the infrastructure-led recovery, where the basic needs of our people will be addressed. The recent floods of November, December, January has exposed us that there are no roads infrastructure, there are no bridges in the rural areas, basic water, which is a need, water and sanitation, which exposed us during the pandemic, that in our areas they can't even have water to wash hands. So those are some of the things that we think President must prioritize and give them a clear detail and time bound, so that our people must know that out of the water scarcity that they have, they are going to get water, but they are going to be employed for them for that water to be able to be regulated, electricity as well. So we're looking forward to that. The young people must get employed, but also the business sector and the private sector must be given incentives and be encouraged to create more jobs. That is very much important. That those who partner with government must then be given incentive and be appreciated for what they are doing.
Ma'am, thank you very much. Viewers, that was Ms. Penny Matortina, the ANC Chief Whip, and with me now is Reverend Mushwe, the President of the African Christian Democratic Party. Reverend, good afternoon and welcome to Parliament TV.
Good afternoon, sir. Thank you very much for having me.
Reverend, firstly, for the first time, Parliament, since the democratic dispensation, Parliament has had to find a venue outside the precinct due to the fire that devastated Parliament on the 2nd of January. What are your comments?
It is very unfortunate and it is very sad. You know, when you look at the people around the City Hall, the mood is somber. There is no excitement and the vibrancy that one always sees during SONA. It is unfortunate that Parliament buildings have been torched, the National Assembly in particular. And this has highlighted a concern and a problem that South Africa has been having for a very long time. You know that we have been complaining about porous borders, for example, all right? Because there's no more security and control at the borders. Now, within the country, we have secret agents that we are not sure what they're doing. We have intelligence services that we are not sure what they're doing. The fires we had in July last year exposed the lack of intelligence in South Africa, and also the lack of policing. If you remember well, during the first 3 days of the rioting and the looting in KZN, We did not see the Minister of Police anywhere or even heard his voice. We did not see the National Commissioner of Police anywhere nor hear his voice. So the police obviously have failed this country. For Parliament to be banned, for a person to get inside Parliament, when we have policemen, you ask yourself a question, where were the police? So the issue of security in South Africa must be addressed urgently. Otherwise, we are going to even prevent investors from coming into the country because they want to be safe if they come, and they want their assets also to be safe.
Lastly, what are your expectations from the president as he will be delivering his 2022 State of the Nation at 7 o'clock?
I'm not expecting anything new. What he should be saying that the people definitely want to hear is how to address the problem of lack of security. We have lost National Assembly, we have lost buildings, we have had national key points being attacked. Constitutional Court was stormed. There were fires at the Justice Department, fires in Parliament. It's almost like there are fires all over because of poor security. If we don't get this, for me, is the very, very basic. If you don't get security correctly, you will not have new investments. And if you don't have investments, you will not have employers or employment for many people who are unemployment, young people who are crying, young people who say, we have degrees, we have diplomas, we have studies, but we cannot find jobs. Now, investors are there in South Africa and outside South Africa, but they want to be assured that they will be safe and their properties would be safe. That's why I say the issue of state security being beefed up, being corrected so that South Africa is a safe investment country, it's very, very important.
Thank you very much, Reverend. That was Reverend Musha of the African Christian Democratic Party. Cape Town is hot, but no amount of weather will stop Parliament TV from talking to the members. And with me now is Ms. Natasha Mazon, the leader of the opposition party in the National Assembly, which is the Democratic Party.
You're giving me an upgrade, just the chief whip.
The chief whip of the DA of the Democratic Alliance. Good afternoon, ma'am. How are you?
Good afternoon. I'm very well. It's so good to see you, and it's so good to be here on this scorching, hot, beautiful day in the mother city. God always shines brightly on us on the day of Sona, doesn't he?
Definitely, and that scorching weather will not stop us at all from proceeding with our work. Ma'am, for the first time in the democratic dispensation, we've had Parliament having to move outside of its original precinct to the City Hall, although the City Hall has been now declared a parliamentary precinct. But what is your take on that?
So obviously I'm deeply concerned that our Parliament burned down, and the chief whips were the first people there when the fire broke out. And I remember this sick feeling in my stomach. But I also noticed one thing that was so profound to me. The fire burnt and things around the fire burnt, but Madiba stood strong and stood firm. And I felt that he was giving us the message saying, a building is brick and mortars. Democracy is a feeling in your stomach. It's what you intend to do as a country. And now you rebuild, and you rebuild stronger and better. And this is also the place where he gave his first speech, where he gave the speech after his long walk to freedom. And tonight we get to remember that beautiful speech that he gave. So I feel even closer to Madiba tonight because of that, where he was. And this beautiful historic building holds a lot of significance for South Africans. So I'm pushing for the rebuilding of Parliament. I want Parliament to come back together for us to do our jobs. But I think that as a backup to the Parliament, we couldn't ask for a more beautiful building than the City Hall.
Thank you, ma'am. And President will be delivering his State of the Nation address at 7 o'clock. What is it that you are expecting to hear from him?
I want to hear that those implicated in Zondo are going to be prosecuted. I want to hear about the real diversification of electricity supply in our country. I want to hear that our security is under control and that our national assets and key points are under control. I want to hear that the economy is actually really going to improve. Where are all the economic promises? I remember 19 of them from last year. I can't say I've seen one come true yet. So the president needs to explain that to me tonight.
Thank you very much, Ms. Mazon, for talking to Parliament TV. And with me and joining me now is Mr. Sopra Mahumapilo, African National Congress member in the National Assembly. Thank you for talking to Parliament TV. For the first time, since the dispensation of our democratic dispensation, Parliament, the President will be delivering his State of the Nation address in the City Hall. Your comments, please.
Well, it's developments which are not under our control. And I just hope that going forward in future, we as Parliament, as the executive, as the people of South Africa, we will have learned from the developments that happened to Parliament. Quite an unfortunate thing. I think it could have been made sure that it doesn't happen. It could have been prevented had the security stuck to their basic mandate. But you know, I mean, it's a new environment here in the City Hall, and we look forward to the State of the Nation address. I'm sure it will go well, and our people will get hope from the State of the Nation address, because what South Africans are looking for is new aggressive levels of hope, so that they can know that tomorrow will be better than yesterday.
Mr. Muhamapelo, thank you very much for talking to Parliament TV. And we will now be moving to, okay, let me just quickly start out. We will now be talking to Mr. Mkhuleko Hlengwa, a member of the Inkatha Freedom Party in the National Assembly. Mhlekazi, sawubona, siyabulela ngokuthatha le interview with Parliament TV.
An absolute pleasure. Thank you very much, and good afternoon to you and the viewers.
Mhlekazi, it's been a difficult 2 years. Following the outbreak of COVID-19. How has it been for you, the IFP, and the people of KwaZulu-Natal?
Well, the people of South Africa have been through the most insofar as the challenges of COVID-19 that we have had, job losses. The economy has literally been on its knees, but in large part also because of the poor management of the pandemic and the very arbitrary implementation of the Disaster Management Act. And so the president will really have to effect the necessary corrective action in this regard tonight. Importantly, of course, he has to focus on jobs because that is ultimately what our people want. And of course, jobs mean there's taxpayers, and any tax revenue allows the state, therefore, to meet its social obligations. And so it's important that there is a deliberate effort to ensure job creation. We need to push back on the frontiers of corruption and ensure that there's functionality in our SOEs, and infrastructure development as a means of creating a conducive and enabling environment for businesses and investment to take place. But it requires political will. And so the president really must not tonight deliver the State of the ANC address ahead of the Congress in December, but speak to the collective daily lived realities of our people. And that is the real State of the Nation address we're expecting from him.
Mr. Hlengwa, thank you very much for talking to Parliament TV. That was Mr. Mkhuleko Hlengwa of the Inkatha Freedom Party, a member in the National Assembly. That right now we'll just go back to Sis Valerie in the studio.
Thank you very much, Temgosi, as we are coming live to you from the precinct of the Cape Town City Hall that is going to be the venue for the State of the Nation address. We have touched on a lot of things. We've touched on the three arms of state. We have touched on the history of this historical building. We have touched on a lot of things. We have spoken to professors about the economy. We have spoken to the chief whips. We have spoken to members of parliament. All of them have alluded to what are they expecting from the president, but without losing any sense. But we also remember those who have lost their lives because of COVID-19. We had Honorable Swart mentioning that him and one of his members actually were the first two members of parliament who contracted COVID-19. And the chief whip of the ruling party, Mama Majodini, alluding to the fact that parliament has lost so many members of parliament. But otherwise, we are saying, may their souls rest in peace. Getting ready outside is the South African National Defense. I cannot say so much, but we do have a guest with our Colonel Zola Mbi, who is here to give us the preparations from the army and also explaining to us how is the army established, who is what within the South African Defense Force. Good afternoon, Mr. Mbi. Unjani?
Good afternoon, ma'am.
Siyabulela ukubona, sicinge into yokuba nani njengoba niphandle senizilungiselele into yokuba nimlungiselele upresident nimondlalele indlela. Colonel, what are the preparations for you being here today?
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you for having us. We have started our preparations way before in order for us to present the State of the Nation address, opening of Parliament, to be involved in various areas. However, our main task is that of ceremonial in nature. We will be deploying different elements, deploying from the castle right around up to Darling Street in front of the Parliament precinct, whereby different elements such as the street lining, the band, the ceremonial guard, the step lining guard, as well as there's a band from the Navy, which will also be playing music for the public in front of the Parliament precinct.
One of the things that we know about the South African Defence Force is that it's about soldiers. Is that the only focus of the Defence Force? Are you only about soldiers and protecting the state? What other sectors within the army can you tell us?
Thank you, ma'am. Perhaps one need also to expand a bit. It's not only the army. The South African Defence Force has 4 arms of services, which is the army, the South African Air Force, the South African Navy, the South African Military Health Service. So those 4 arms of services, they do form the South African National Defence Force, with the chief of the South African National Defence Force being Jerama Pianya. Now, our commander-in-chief, who is the president of the Republic. So with that, each and every arm of service has got different masterings as well as other professions from within.
You have just mentioned that the commander of the army is the president. When you get down to the provinces, who then becomes the commander?
Right.
Oh, let's just hold on. We just received the news that the Speaker of the National Assembly has actually made entrance into the venue. The Speaker of the National Assembly is one of the procedural officers that will be sitting during the State of the Nation address, as well as the chairperson of the National Council of Provinces, that is Dada Amos Masondo. But at the moment, we are just with Colonel Mbi, and who is going to give us a better details about the role of the army within the State of the Nation address. The Speaker has entered, and now she is followed by the Deputy Chairperson of the National Council of Provinces, Mama Sylvia Lucas. Colonel Mbi, we were just talking about the President is the Commander-in-Chief at the national level. Does he also take responsibility as well at a provincial level?
No, the President is the Commander-in-Chief of the South African National Defence Force. Now, the Army would have its own chief. The Navy, the Air Force, and the South African Military Health Service will have the Sergeant General. So, with that in mind, the National Defence Force has got only units in provinces, but it does not, the responsibility, accountability still reside with the chief of the South African Defence Force as well as the commander-in-chief. So therefore, our involvement would always be summoned as per constitution by the President of the Republic.
Thank you so much. Let's hold it there, Colonel Mbi, because we need to go outside just to hear Temgosi as he is with Honorable Shabalala, as what Honorable Shabalala has to say about the upcoming State of the Nation address. Outside, they're still experiencing technical issues, but we'll take it as it comes. Colonel Mbi, we were just talking about the role of the president at a provincial level, but you have alluded to the fact that he is the commander of the Army of South Africa as a whole. So as the colonel within the Defense Force, you are decorated with certain medals. Can you just explain to us what this means to the young person that is looking at you at this moment?
Once more, I just wish also to express this to all the audience out there that the Commander-in-Chief is the Commander-in-Chief of the South African National Defence Force, not of the Army, which the public out there and also the citizens would always and normally make that mistake of only confining the SANDF into the Army, not counting other arms of services. Let me bring it down now to myself as the member of the Army, the Landward Forces. With the medals on my left, it symbolizes the involvement in operations, both from within the country as well as external operations. And again, the years of service within the organization. And of course, on my right, it also there is my name as well as the proficiency badges. Yes.
Thank you so much, Colonel Mbi. Thembikonsi, you are with Honorable Shabalala.
Yes, Valeria, I am standing with Ms. Judith Chabalala, member of the African National Congress. Ms. Chabalala, welcome to Parliament.
Thank you so much for welcoming me.
Ms. Chabalala, firstly, Parliament has, for the first time after its democratic dispensation, meeting outside of the Parliament precinct. What is your view?
Look, it's a very sad moment. However, we need to jubilate in the South African zealousness to really continue no matter what the circumstances. The fact that we're in Cape Town, we've got another venue. For me, it means that we've got the zealous as South Africans, be it black and white or creed or what have you, and we're here now. And I think that we need to celebrate for what it's worth. The unfortunate situation of Parliament hurts us as well. However, that we need to overcome. We don't have control of circumstances of karma at times, so that's what it is. Yeah.
And ma'am, President will be delivering the State of the Nation address. He will be speaking to the nation at 7 o'clock. What are you expecting to hear from him?
His Excellency President Cyril Ramaphosa, I'm expecting more on youth unemployment, the graduate who are unemployed, the young people on drug and alcohol abuse. I'm expecting more on the economic recovery plan and more on issues of investment. What can we do to ensure that we accelerate the issues of growth in South Africa is quite critical at this stage, and it's something that I think that is quite critical. We need to grow the economy and to grow the economic growth, but also to grow the issues of job creation is quite important to ensure that entrepreneurship flourish, but ensure that there is mainstream and development around issues of people that were able to, especially people that were marginalized in the past, to be able to really participate in the past and in the current dispensation. And it's quite important, especially Blacks and Africans in general. For me, that's what I'm really expecting from the President Radio.
Ms. Chabalala, thank you very much for talking to us. And that was Ms. Judith Chabalala. And I now have to talk to Dr. Groenewald of the Freedom Front Plus. Good afternoon, and thank you for doing this interview with Parliament TV.
Good afternoon.
Thank you very much, sir. Firstly, if you can just briefly share with our viewers, how has the past 2 years been for you following the outbreak of COVID-19?
Well, firstly, we said from the start that, yes, we supported, for instance, a total lockdown for 21 days, but that was all. Then the president, as far as we're concerned, misused the powers and he extended. At this moment, we're still in a national state of disaster, which is totally unacceptable. We've made specific proposals, even in 2020, that they should lower the levels of the lockdown, because they are doing so much damage to the economy that in the end we are going to pay a dear price. That's exactly what the Freedom Front Plus said. And now we see that we were correct, and now we're paying the price for, I would to say that the government became actually drunk with power to to show the people of South Africa that we will tell you even what shoes you have to wear and what type of shirts you have to wear. It's totally unacceptable.
And now, for the first time since the democratic dispensation, the State of the Nation address will be held outside of the Parliament precinct following the fires that gutted Parliament in the beginning of the year. Your comment, please.
Well, I think that's symbolic of what is happening in South Africa. The National Assembly has been burned down. The economy in South Africa, the standards in South Africa is also going down. It's going into ruins. The ANC government has lost its moral compass. They can't curb, for instance, all the corruption that is taking place in South Africa. That's symbolic. And now we have to go to another venue like the City Hall of Cape Town. Maybe we can hope that the government realize that they have to make a total change. But I am very worried that the president won't do it. In fact, he has to survive for the elective conference by December, the end of this year, in the ANC. And at the Zondo Commission, he said that he didn't act when he became aware of corruption because he thought it's better to stay in the system. I want to say it blatantly. It was only about his own interest, not in the interest of South Africa. And the president must realize he is the president of the Republic of South Africa. He must act in the best interest of South Africa, not in the best interest of the ANC.
So having mentioned all that, what is then your expectation from the president when he delivers the State of the Nation address later this evening?
Well, firstly, we don't want to hear about any further summits and conferences or anything like that. We want to see practical, workable solutions to create jobs in South Africa. As far as the Freedom Front Plus is concerned, the biggest crisis is the unemployment in South Africa. We saw that the unemployment rate just increased all the way. So therefore, they must come forward to say how they're going to do it. With that is the economic growth in South Africa. We say, again, workable, practical steps the government will take to enhance and make the circumstances conducive for those people who want to come and invest in South Africa. And it's not only for foreign investors, also local investors. They should have a situation where they want to expand their business. But the government doesn't do that. And we want to hear practical steps they're going to do that. And of course, crime is also a major issue in South Africa. But the government decreased the budget of police services. The president is very quick to say that we have to curb gender-based violence. How can the president expect better crime prevention if they decrease the budget even for the midterm of over the next 3 years? He must explain that to the people of South Africa. And therefore, the Freedom Front Plus, if I mentioned only those 3 issues, there are many other issues. For instance, we said long ago, it is time to stop the state of disaster. It's no use in anymore. And we say that we want to hear when and where the government is going to act to ensure that even the livelihoods of South Africa and its people will be raised to such a level that people can have a decent job, a sustainable job to look after his or her family.
Dr. Groenewald, thank you very much for talking to Parliament TV.
My pleasure.
Well, viewers, that was Dr. Groenewald, the leader of the Freedom Front Plus, sharing his expectations from the president later this evening. We'll now cross back to Valerie in the studio.
Our interview is still in progress with Colonel Mbi, who is going to continue where we left off and giving us a brief over the medals that he is wearing. So can you kindly share what these medals are for, especially the ones on the right-hand side, because that is where we ended earlier on.
Thank you. If you check closer onto this one with the national flag, it is my name tag. On top of it, it is a proficiency badge symbolizing that I'm one of the sharpshooters. The top one, it is a qualification, which is the staff corps. Now, at the bottom, it is affiliation dress, which then says, I belong to the South African Infantry School. The Infantry School is the biggest training institution in the South African National Defence Force. I'm the commander of that institution. That is where also we train the recruits of the SA Army, especially the ones of the Fighting Corps.
Colonel B, while you are speaking about the training, yesterday there was a clip that was circulating on the WhatsApp that was saying that the South African Defence Force is welcoming future trainees who can apply and then be trained. How true is that? Because there's so much information circulating on our media platforms because of the jobs being needed and young people being desperate. Can you assure us whether that is real or not?
Thank you for asking that question. First of all, the video is a scam. The South African National Defence Force has also released a media statement in that regard, distancing itself from the scam. The recruits for this year, which is 2022, that recruitment was finalized, and the MSDS, which is the Military Skills Development System, will begin at infantry school and the other training institutions. For the next recruitment, which will commence in 2024, that will be communicated accordingly. So our principals have already issued a statement distancing and warning the public indeed that this is a scam.
South Africans, young people, all those who actually received the WhatsApp yesterday about the training and applications being welcomed by the Army, kindly take note that that WhatsApp message is fake. Please do not respond so that you don't also waste money going out to print and so many things. Coming back to the infantry school, Colonel Mbi, can you just explain to us how long does the training take, and also what kind of training do you offer to the trainees?
We specialize in the landward forces. In this case, if I may look at the military skills development system, they attend the initial military training, which takes them 6 months, and thereafter they graduate, and they go to, or they are deployed to various centers of excellence where they specialize in different masterings. The infant years, which they situated now in infantry school in Oudtshoorn, then we continue with them for the next coming 14 weeks, which is almost 3.5 months. We then specialize training them on the infantry-related aspects.
So those cannot be shared with us. Coming back then to your role this evening, just before the president was ushered into the venue, can you just explain, in terms of the processions, what time can we expect the band? What time can we expect every aspect or sector within the Army to make their way to the entrance to the venue?
Right. The first deployment will begin now at 1740, which then would begin by deployment of the street lining. Again, who forms part of the street lining? It is the flagman, as well as the other members who will form part of the street lining, being the Army, the Air Force, South African Navy, and the South African Military Health Service. Then the last deployment will be the National Ceremonial Guard and the Ceremonial Guard Band. And all these deployments, they are now, I'm going to use the terminology, being pushed and pulled. However, I'll explain much when we see the pictures. The National Ceremonial Guard Band will then be pulling the National Ceremonial Guard, which will deploy in front of the parliamentary precinct. In front of the parliamentary precinct, that's where you also deploy the step lining guard, the AD camps, as well as the door openers. Lastly, you will have also the escorts, which will then bring the Deputy President as well as the President of the Republic.
Thank you, Colonel Mbi. You've mentioned the band. Now the band is about to start with the music. Let's hear them as they serenade everybody and you viewers at home with this song. So let's just give them a few minutes. I believe they are settling into their stations. So let's wait patiently. They are changing, they are getting ready. So let's get ready as well at home and wherever you are. Please remember that we are coming live to you from the City Hall in Cape Town, where the State President, Mr. Cyril Ramaphosa, will deliver the State of the Nation address at 9 o'clock this evening. South Africans, as you can see, the City Hall and the outside area is quite getting busy. On the red carpet, we saw the Deputy Chairperson of the National Council of Provinces, Umama Sylvia Lucas, as well as the Deputy Speaker of the National Assembly, Utata Tsinoli. They were walking up to also receive the Deputy President of the country, Mr. Mabuza. Citizens, we are indeed now entering the State of the Nation address. But you can see also the activities outside. There is so much activities, and we can see the Deputy Chairperson wearing her African print, and we just need to see the Deputy Speaker also is on here. The Deputy Speaker is on the right hand, is on the left-hand side of the Deputy Chairperson of the National Council of Provinces. We can see the red carpet, and we will wait until the Deputy President meets them outside the red carpet. Mr. Kanalmbi, we are coming back to you now. You spoke about the infantry school, and the army is known for strict discipline. How do you actually manage to get the young people, or at that early age in the infantry training, to be this disciplined? Because there has been talk as well that the young people need to join the army to be disciplined, to understand what patriotism means in your country and to you as a citizen.
Thank you. First, we normally say discipline starts at home. As we are also recruiting from society, we also build from what society gives us. However, with our specialist training, we then put something, it's an add-on to what you have from home. So I would encourage also society out there to also trim a bit our young ones. However, as we build them towards taking responsibility and also introducing patriotism, because there are lessons and the modules we also impart to these students or recruits as part of the initial military training. Because as well now, we actually build from a civilian and introduce you into the defense force, irrespective of whether you are in the Air Force, in the Army, or in the Navy, or as a military health service, irrespective. But we start first with initial military training.
I'm not sure now whether I'm being intrusive when I ask about, in instances where there's been ill discipline, what are some of the things that you do in order to address those young trainees who are not adhering to the training protocols?
There are some tactics which we introduce to the recruits, and of course, part of any military, there's punishment, of course, and beyond that, we also try to align you into to form you to be this mold which we want you to become.
Okay, all right. We just learned that the former speaker, the former speaker of the National Assembly has just arrived with his wife. That is Mr. Max Sisulu and Mrs. Sisulu. They are making their way on the red carpet. We can see they are being ushered into the venue of the City Hall. And they are also welcomed by the Deputy Speaker, Udada Tsinoli, and also the Deputy Chairperson of the NCOP, Umama Sylvia Lucas. Colonel, we just touched on discipline and also some of the tactics that you use, including the punishment, but we're not going to dwell in too much because we know we mustn't dig too much when it comes to the army. But about this evening, we know that there's something called a fly pass. Can you just explain to us what that really entails?
The fly past, it will be performed when the National Ceremonial Guard commander has now given a command, a national salute, present arms, which then is accompanied by the national anthem and the 21-gun salute, and of course the fly past. Now the fly past is performed by the Hawks in a Hawk formation, which is only 3 Hawks which will then be flying past.
Thank you. We just heard that also the other leaders that are making their way on the red carpet, it's Mama Balegambete, who is a former speaker of the National Assembly. With her is her husband, Mr. Homo. So we are actually going to be seeing a lot of the guests that are going to be arriving. And we also have been listening to debates outside and expectations being given by the members of parliament. And we also have the former deputy president that is going to come, Umama Upumzile Mnuga as well, that we know she was based in New York and she is with her husband, Mr. Mnuga. Colonel, let's go ahead, but please be accommodative because of these interactions that we're having, because we need also to update the citizens as to what are the procedural developments as they are making their way to the venue. But we do appreciate that.
Thank you.
And coming back to the fly past, I don't know whether you had finished explaining to us as to who is involved.
The fly past is performed by these three hawks in the Hawks formation. What I can also allude to the fact that the 21 gun salute is also performed by a regiment based in Cape Town, which is now called a Nelson Mandela Regiment. Interestingly, if I can take you also with the National Ceremonial Guard, the unit itself, previously, it was called the Presidential Guard before 1990, and it was disbanded. Later on, due to the stature of the late President Mandela, we received luminaries, heads of states and others within the country after 1994. Now, there was a need to form this National Ceremonial Guard, which the spade work started then after that, and it was established on the 16th of January 1996, which the first troops also arrived on the 1st of April 1996. Now, what can also be brought into the fore is that the uniform which currently the National Ceremonial Guard is wearing, at first there were 10 uniforms which were presented to the Army Council as well as the MCC, which is the Military Command Council. And later on, these 10 uniforms were narrowed down into 7. The 7 was presented to the then Minister of Defense, which was Joe Modise. Again, the 7 was narrowed down to 3. The 3 was then presented to then President Mandela, which he chose the green uniform, which you see today worn by the National Ceremonial Guard. That uniform was worn for the first time on the 27th of April 1998 in Tata, when we're celebrating the Freedom Day.
Was there any reason behind the choice of color?
Wow, it's a tricky question, because the 3, it was a red color, the green, and the light blue. So I think out of those, he chose the best which can be presented to the nation.
We are expecting soldiers to come in the part of the ceremonial process. What are these soldiers?
In the National Ceremonial Guard, these are soldiers who undergo the normal training, specializing just like any other soldier. However, the unit itself is situated in Pretoria, performing solely the ceremonial responsibilities accorded by the Chief of the South African National Defence Force, as well as other demands, welcoming the heads of states and state funerals, Category 1. And then other members who are also involved forming the street lining is the other services which I have mentioned earlier on. But the significance also of the street lining, it can be alluded into twofold. The first one is that of giving flair into the ceremony, and also the highest honor to the President of the Republic. Second to that is that, everyone would wish to see the President. Now,
Can we just pause in there, Colonel? We have other guests that are being received. That is our former Deputy President, Umama Unguga, approaching the Deputy Chairperson of the NCOP as well as the Deputy Speaker of the National Assembly. She is not alone, but she is here with her husband, Dada Mr. Unguga, Bulelani Unguga. We were talking about the soldiers as well, because we hear that they are getting ready. First, we had the band that was playing, and now we are being informed that the soldiers are approaching. So before we went to the clip of receiving the former deputy president of the country, Mamu Phumzile Ngcuka, you were just enlightening us as to who is involved and who actually constitute this part of the army.
Thank you. The straight lining, I was trying to indicate that the second part to the straight lining is that of probably acting as a buffer into what you would see that the public would wish to see the president. So therefore, it's a way of clearing the route into the parliament precinct, because he will then be brought by the escort with a route that is cleared through the straight lining. Now, with the National Assembly Guard also is actually marching through the straight lining up to the the parliament. Then, in front of this parliament,
as citizens of South Africa, we have the former president, Udada Thabo Mbeki, getting off from his vehicle and approaching as well the deputy speaker, as well as the deputy chairperson of the National Council of Provinces. Visuals from outside, because actually you would have been able to take us through all the ceremonial processes and protocols as well. But we do want to appreciate as well Colonel Mbi for everything and for the information and for the insight also that you have shared with us as the people of South Africa. But it's not over yet. We're still going to pause there and just listen what is the arrival. So we have the arrival of the Economic Freedom Front members of parliament who are approaching, economic freedom fighters who are members of the National Assembly or possibly as well members of the National Council of Provinces. They are making their way to the venue that is the City Hall in Cape Town. Colonel, I'm not sure whether there's also something that you would like to add that you would wish us as South Africans to know about the South African national defense at this stage while we are waiting for the other processes to unfold.
What I can say is that the
Are there programs that sensitize children who are still in high school who may be interested to participate in the army?
Thank you for raising that. There are such efforts. For instance, you will find that we go to even vernacular radio stations, as well as to the newspapers and schools, for instance. So there's effort which we would wish to advertise these skills and also members to apply within the National Defence Force.
Okay, I know that in Simonstown there's a period where actually we are invited as the public to go experience what the submarine is, to go experience what the ships look like inside, but it becomes so packed and you see young people in them. So having said that, does the Army or does the South African National Defence Force render support, financial support in the forms of bursaries for those young people who want to join the Army?
There are some bursaries which are normally advertised correctly and actually communicated through formal platforms by the National Defence Force for members to apply. But of course, it actually needs some qualifications, but when the time comes, it will officially be communicated to the public. Having said that, you'll find that also we have now the Armed Forces Day coming up on the 21st of February, which will be held in Mpumalanga. And such activities as well, although this one, it's in hybrid, and limited scale. But you'll find in different provinces, because it's not only in one province, we also rotate provinces. That's where we also advertise the Defence Force so that everyone else can have access into it.
I can't remember. There was a moment somewhere in Milnerton and Blouberg where the Army in the morning were actually training, doing I don't know whether it was the street lining or something. What was it? And I think the president was there as well to welcome them just before the State of the Nation address or after.
Sometimes there are such activities which are scheduled. And in 2019, there was Armed Forces Day held in the Western Cape, particularly in Cape Town. That's where you'll find, for instance, it might have been that when the street lining was also lined up for the President of the Republic and other capabilities which were assembled.
Okay. People of South Africa, we are now getting ready for the Army because the President of South Africa is approaching towards the venue of the City Hall, where he is going to be delivering his State of the Nation address 2022. So we are here in the studio with Kanelimbi, who is providing insight into the opportunities that are available to you as South Africans, especially the young people. So we are going to see the arrivals of dignitaries who are going to be attending the State of the Nation address. The chairperson is going to welcome them, as well as the Deputy Speaker. We have a few people that will be coming, and we know that is one of the arms of state that will be coming in as well. It will be the judiciary, and the acting Chief Justice is entering as he has arrived and making his way on the red carpet to the entrance of the City Hall and making sure that he will be taken to wherever venue that he will be waiting for. And indeed, the Army is still on the way. Fortunately for this time around, I do have Colonel Mbi, who is going to explain to us what is it that the band will be doing in awaiting for the president to make his way to the entrance of the City Hall. Colonel Mbi, how long does it take for the South African National Defence to prepare for such an august occasion like the State of the Nation address?
It doesn't take longer because you'll find that if soldiers are tuned into drill, because that is what we do every day. However, we tune the elements which are assembled for a specific operation such as this. if I can also allude to the fact that you will see each and every element that is deployed. For instance, the army is also pushed or pulled by a band. Now, when I talk about push or pull, it means if the band is leading the squad, is therefore pulling that squad. But if the band is behind the squad, is pushing the squad. Now, it depends on the tactical deployment of such a squad on the ground. Now, as we speak, you'll find that there's now a deployment of the street lining. And the National Ceremonial Guard then will, as soon as everyone else is in position, it will start deploying from the castle, pulled by the band. Because what happens upon arrival at the parliamentary precinct, the band will deploy behind the ceremonial guard, which then also the ceremonial guard itself will deploy on the street in three lines, so to speak.
With the band itself, do you look for people who play musical instruments? Do you look for people who've got musical skills? Because almost every year there is a band during the State of the Nation address that actually prepares that prepares the platform for the president. Can you just tell us, do you look for musicians, or actually they learn the musical skills once they're inside the army?
Actually, if I may say, the bandsmen, they're actually qualified musicians in different pieces of music. And again, the vocalists as well. Some we recruit from within, and some we recruit from schools, universities, and so forth. So, but as they come in, then we tune them into now the military way of doing things.
That is quite interesting. Just when I thought people come in with no skills and the army does everything. So on the red carpet, we can see that people are getting ready. They are awaiting the arrival of the guests within the entrance of the national, to the entrance of the city hall. Can you just move this side so that you can just give us an overview of what is happening at this moment? Apologies that we don't have a clip. Okay, we'll just have the band play at the moment. Yes.
Anywhere, everywhere needed. The South African Navy Band, which is currently now in front of the parliamentary precinct, is situated in Cape Town. The South African Military Health Service Band is also situated in Pretoria. Now, they do arrange the tattoos. Now, they can perform tattoos both within the country and elsewhere in the world. It depends on the arrangements. Of course, I'm not going to confine my argument now within the space of the COVID-19, but under normal circumstances, you'll find that the band can be invited also by other countries with relations with South Africa. So then they can be able to perform elsewhere.
Colonel, you just spoke about tattoos. What do you mean about tattoos? Because my knowledge and those of viewers at home, what a tattoo is different, I think, from what you are explaining.
Thank you. It's a musical tattoo. It's that's where the band also performs a lot of flair into music, not necessarily the tattoo on the body or anything, but that's where also they display their skill in different forms,
Okay. All right. Viewers at home, we are still in the City Hall of Cape Town, awaiting for the president to make his way to make the State of the Nation address. We are receiving a lot of guests. We have highlighted the arrival of the Deputy President. We highlighted the arrival of our former president in Mr. Thabo Mbeki. We also highlighted the arrival of the former Deputy President, the Deputy Chief Justice making his way to the venue as well of the City Hall. So we wait patiently for the band, because indeed once the soldiers make their way, the line up of the president, then the president will be approaching, as well as it was explained by Colonel B about the process that is going to unfold. Mr. M, there is a skill that seems to be very rare within some of the communities of South Africa, that of diving. Does the Army offer such in terms of development?
Footprint of South Africa is seen in the DRC, for instance, is seen in other countries where we touch base, trying to mitigate and intervene for peace support operations.
I know that one of the most memorable things that our army was involved in was when Mozambique was affected by the horrible floods, where one of the soldiers actually assisted the child. We are still struggling. We are still struggling with the clip at this point. We're trying to get back to the visuals and the developments on the streets. Advocate Pindela, at this stage, he's actually leading the judges, and the army is actually in front of them. So we know that the judges are going to be making their way to the entrance of the national, in the entrance of the City Hall. So many activities are happening, citizen. And as we said earlier on, a lot of guests from the judiciary, from the legislatures, as well as from the government, they are making their way.